All right. Yo, yo, I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be all right. Yo, 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 what up, what up, what up, yo? What's up, Miss Iconic?
Hey, child.
Girl, it look real bright where you at, man. That's what's
Yeah,
up.
I feel like I haven't done no recording or nothing in forever. I just relocated and whatnot. So,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, I feel like it's been a long, long time, child, long
I
time.
swear, I feel like I ain't seen you and I ain't seen you, but that's what's up. So look, man, what's up, everybody? Y'all, we're doing a live stream because we just want to see y'all. We want to talk to y'all live today and just kind of talk about some hard talks and families. Like, what's going on, y'all? 2020 is wild. Like, I can't imagine. So, not only just the conversation piece, but like when you have children, and how do you discuss these type of topics that's going on in the world today with your kids?
Yeah.
That's something that I've been thinking about, and I'm like, man, I don't have any children, but I've totally noticed like parents are really starting to have these conversations, right? So for me, if I were to have had a child, I definitely wanted to bring up this topic. I know I have so I have nieces and nephews, and those conversations are coming up now. I know the other day, I went protesting, right? And so the other day, my niece, who is 8 years old, asked my sister, she says, "Who is Breonna Taylor?" And
Mhm.
so she seen my video on social media that I was protesting and they were chanting Breonna Taylor. And so that led my sister to a hard talk for
Okay.
conversation for my niece. So my sister explained the situation and she just kind of, but she's 8, so it wasn't too like super deep, but it was enough that my niece was like, okay, wow, that's
You're
crazy.
gonna have to like take off your glasses or something because I just keep seeing a light
Because it's like angels and stuff
in your eyes.
in my eyes.
Cool.
But that's I mean, I took it
So
off. So
what
if I
what was her response? I mean, what was the response?
okay, cool. So my niece was just like, wow, she just didn't understand. But like I said, just a few minutes ago, that it became the conversation for my sister and niece to like open up, like, hey, people aren't like white people aren't bad people. Like this is, but your brown skin will give you more of a risk nowadays than what you kind of thinking, because she's innocent, and it's hard to like explain those type of topics. But I think my niece I think she was good after my sister thoroughly explained to her what was going on.
Okay. Okay. That's I don't know. When I think just give me a second actually. When I think about like when you say hard talks, like I think about other stuff. I think about sex, I think about puberty, maturity, I think about like this human trafficking stuff. I think about those type of things when you say hard talks, but it's all inclusive of what's going on in the world today. And I think because like yourself, I don't have any kids either, and so we did absolutely no introduction to this episode, by the way. But kids are being targeted too in this world, whether it's police brutality, whether it's sexual predators, whatever it is, kids are absolutely being targeted too. And so while we think that we are protecting our kids from something, is actually a hindrance, because we're leaving them like ill prepared to be able to deal with these things. So, like, I don't know what you think a good age. Like, is there age like to talk about? Okay, police brutality or sex or condoms or birth control? Like, what is the age?
The age. I think the age varies from person to person, situation to situation, but I believe the age would probably be like, shoot, start at 8. It's time, because see, young people, they're gonna start getting on their cycles when they're talking about puberty, and then like, well, actually, shoot, man, yeah, I'll say 8. I'll say 8. I think that's a good age to start talking about it. What about
Why
you?
why is that a good age to start talking about it?
I mean,
Like eight
I
years
feel like,
old,
well,
I
like
didn't get
6 to 8, 6 to 8.
I didn't get my cycle until I was 16. I
But
didn't
you a
or
late bloomer though.
what?
That has to have been a late bloomer, because I got mine when I was like 11.
So yeah, and it's still why I'm trying to get to the core of why you say 8 years old, because 8 years old seems very young to me.
I feel like they're becoming more inquisitive. That you got YouTube that you're watching now that's already going to express these things. Like, they're already teaching kids certain things. You got TV shows that are teaching kids what they're watching right now.
My
And
8 year
so,
old ain't got no business on YouTube. They
oh,
do have
why don't
kids.
they? But they own there though. But they own
Mm.
there. How you gonna say that though? But these kids are on there. YouTube, there's some kids that YouTube is raising. Come on, man.
So that's the parents' uh responsibility if YouTube is raising your child. Like,
I don't know. We'll have to ask our viewers what age do they think is a good time to start discussing this. What do
I
you
just don't
think, Miss
think I
Iconic?
just don't think there is an age. I don't think that there is
Also,
an
you set me
age.
up. So you just set me up for that.
I mean, I want to know what you thought, but I think that maturity happens at various age levels. There is no age for maturity. Like we just discussed, you started your cycle, which doesn't mean you're mature, because you're very much so still immature at the age of 38 or however old you are.
Well,
Um,
that,
so
first of all, I'm 32. Second of all, I'm grown, ma'am. Oh,
so yeah,
child.
but I mean, and honestly, I let me just put this out there. Okay. I was 14, 15, 16 years old dealing with 30-year-old men. And when I say dealing, I mean talking to, hanging out with, whatever.
That's nasty.
What is a 30-year-old man gonna do with a 14, 15, 16-year-old child? Um, I was not having sex with them because I was not having sex at that age. I was way too scary to be having sex at that young of an age. But in my hometown, all those grown men mess with little girls. And so they could talk about R. Kelly and whoever else, but they was doing the same thing. And while, like I said, I was not having sex with them, I still didn't have nobody to teach me. So I had grown men trying to teach me the game. I learned the game in the streets. That never
Mm.
should have happened. And it's not even to say that my parents weren't doing their job, because they did what they could. Like, my mom and dad were working people. They were
Okay.
not, leaving us home by ourselves so they could go to the club. They were not dropping us off at my grandma's house so they could go hang out or do drugs or anything like that. They were and are productive citizens of society. And
Okay.
so when I look at it, I'm like, I kind of chose, because they did not have those conversations with me. I chose to have those conversations outside of my house. I could have very easily went and asked my
Mm.
parents, "Hey, talk to me about sex, about my menstrual cycle, about birth
Yeah.
control, about how to use a condom." Because even though I don't have anything to put in a condom, Okay, I'm still on the receiving end. So just as well as I need to know about how to use a condom and how to properly wear them, how a guy should properly wear them, young boys need to be talked to about birth control and pregnancy. And I mean, all of this stuff, STDs and everything. I never had those talks inside of my home. And it was
I,
because my parents
yeah.
never created the atmosphere for us to have those type of talks. I felt very uncomfortable. I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I felt all of those like nasty words talking to my parents about stuff like that. And it really should not be like that. Like, I think we have to start, especially in this day and age, have to start creating that atmosphere of comfort where our kids are not embarrassed or ashamed to talk to us
No
about
doubt.
something as common, I guess you could say. That's a part of
But they
nature.
want to
Like,
keep the innocence though, so they don't want to like, and that's what I think some families. What happens in some families, they like, okay, if we don't talk about it, then we ain't gotta really like the kids will still be kids, and we want the
yeah.
kids to keep their innocence, so we're not gonna talk about what's going on. So I have a cousin, and he has a son, and I think my cousin's son's like 5, right? And so he noticed his penis, right? So he's like, "Yo, what does this do?" So my cousin explained it to him, right? So now my cousin has a female or a daughter. So the boy is older and he has a sister. And he's like, "Dad, why don't my sister have the same thing that I have?" So now, those conversations
And they're how
are
old?
like maybe like 6, and the kid is younger, so they not necessarily like, he just understands, he's starting to understand like the difference between boy and girl. So again, when it comes to age, I guess it just depends. When it's a situation thing, I believe it's situational.
Yeah, if they're getting curious, but again, what if you have kids that do not express that? I was not expressive. I
Yeah,
wasn't expressive when it came to those type of things. So it was
I mean, I didn't talk
something.
about it either at home either, so I wasn't talking about that.
It was something that they have created in their household that made their kid comfortable enough to ask them that because
Absolutely.
so
I mean, because if you think about this, like the superstar Dwayne Wade, right? He has created an atmosphere for his son to come to him to talk about those things. Because Zaya, who is Dwayne Wade's son, I believe wanted the sex change and to become a female, and so he was comfortable enough, whether you agree or disagree, he was comfortable going to his parents to talk about that. And that's the type of atmosphere, like, you should be able to feel comfortable enough to talk to to have your child to come speak to you in that manner, like to be comfortable. That's what's important at the end of the day. If not, the streets gonna raise them.
yeah. Do so what happens when you have, because speaking of, Dwayne Wade, since we're on that note, he got a lot of grief in the media about his decision and his parenting style.
Yeah,
And I agree with everything that he got going. I think it's amazing for a child to be able to talk to their parent and stuff like that. Um, but I know Lil Boosie,
oof,
he gave Dwayne Wade a lot of grief about it, but he can't talk to
ooh,
nobody about raising their kids because I look at stuff, that he says in regard to his parenting style, and it's horrible. With him getting grown women to have oral sex on a
for the
child.
birthday.
And I had to think about it. I said, okay, Crystal, would you rather be a little girl? And honestly, yes. Like there is something so just ultimately degrading and disgusting about a grown woman um performing oral sex on a kid. And
Oh, that's
reportedly
horrible.
it was when the kid was 12 years old. you know um is he at fault? Like, is he just teaching his child the ropes raising him right, as he says, or is that to me that's that's like borderline pedophilia. It's the same thing. You're performing sexual acts on a child, a minor, way minor
I mean,
child.
I can't even. That's disgusting. Like that's just nasty. But some people are cool with it, and money is the root to all evil. So I'm sure he paid these women. But see, then it comes with the ethics and morals that would never fly on my behalf. Like there's women that will say, "Okay, I'll do it for X amount of dollars." Cool.
And I believe that well, of course, when they talk about he hired, a woman, just those words, him saying, "Oh, I hired somebody to perform oral sex," not just on his son, but on his nephews.
Ugh.
Like I
Yeah.
don't know what to
Think of that.
I just don't know. But I do here. I think this is the clip. Hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and play the clip so that if there are people that don't know what we're talking about.
Make it plain then. Make it plain.
Hey, before we start this video,
hold on.
Post notifications,
Because we don't want to hear. Hold on.
You got a big audience, man.
Sorry, I don't want to
So
hear
as
that.
Mr. Iconic is getting that together, what are y'all thoughts? Like, what do you guys think about this conversation so far with Lil Boosie? As it pertains to him allowing his son to get oral sex by an older woman.
My bad.
Money. All right, yeah. I'm looking at your comments.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know.
Girl, bye. Technology will make you look dumb.
Who got them they first hit? But hey, Boosie. Big dog. Hey, asking on my nephew, who got them they first hit? Big dog. Hey. I've been got my son. My 9-year-old, 10-year-old, I showed all of them how to put on rubber. Or he even start having sex, I didn't show my sons how to put on rubber. Ain't finna get my son no motherfucking shit out here. I'm training them boys right. Asking them my nephew. Asking them. Ask my son. Yeah. They 12, 13. They got hit. Yeah. That's how it's supposed to be. Yeah. Hell yeah, I got my fucking right. Yes, a grown woman. Grown, super grown. Grown, super grown. Super grown. Checked his ass out. Checked all my nephews out. Super grown. Yeah, she grown. She checked me out. The fuck she did to them. I'm getting them prepared, man. Well, dang, I'm getting my boy. That's how
they his description alone of the of what happened, like saying that, oh, she's super grown, super grown, super, like emphasis. And then saying like she checked them out. Like that's too much to me for a child that age. And I can't say that I disagree with him showing them how to put on condoms, anything like that, because I think that sex education is very important, not only in the households but in the schools. But when you're influencing them, you're a mega superstar like Boosie Badass, and you have these kids that you're raising, they're in a celebrity, celebrity lifestyle is much different from us regular folks. That type of influence alone it's crazy. And I just keep saying, those poor babies, those poor kids, like, and every time he talk about Boosie, I mean, every time he says something about his parenting, he always relates his parenting to finances or monetary gifts and things like that, saying, oh, they get anything they want, they have new shoes and do all this, they get gifts or whatever every Christmas. He pay all his child support, like stuff like that. The fact that that is what he prides himself on, paying child support and getting his kids gifts for Christmas and getting them oral sex for their birthdays and things like that. I was reading where he brought his son, I think on his 16th birthday, brought his son a bag of money for him to trick out on a bad bitch, he said. And man, for me, it's just too much, man. It's a hard no.
Yeah,
When
it's a hard
you're
no.
talking about stuff like that, it's a hard no. Like, and my only, like, where are the mothers when this stuff is going on? And I know, mothers don't want to be intrusive. They want to let their son, grow and learn how to be a man by their father. But you have to know the guy that you laid down and slept with and had these kids, and you have to know that he ain't no kind of man to be raising no boy like that. And so to not intervene, to not say nothing, there's been nobody speaking out about it since that happened. Boosie been talking about this. This just happened 2020. Boosie been talking about this for years. In 2017, it was all type of media outlets. I know the Breakfast Club had covered it a lot. TMZ had covered it, and a couple of other media outlets about him making claims of getting his 12-year-old son oral sex. And then he recanted his statement saying, nah, I was just playing. I ain't getting him no head. But if he got head, like I basically I'd be proud of him. I wouldn't look down on him for that. And I get that. If you're gonna go out there and start having sex at 12, 9 and 10, he said. 9, 10 on up, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, it should not be with a grown person, because that's just a whole nother situation for me. That's a whole nother situation. And whoever the chick is that did it, I don't know how she.
Oh, she's super nasty.
I don't know
Super
how she's
nasty. Yeah, it's wild, man. And just to piggyback off of what you said, like those type of things, like it's hard to even just say listen to that. Like I had to unfollow him after that because I don't support what he's doing. But there's people that's like, yeah, man, that's what's up. Boosie said let's go so we can do it, and so I mean, you just taking away the child's innocence, the child's childhood. Like, I don't know, like conversation's different now. Like, what do y'all even talk about when you got friends like that?
And not even that, but imagine the other young kids that Boosie's kids are influencing because they're Boosie's kids. Imagine all the people that Boosie is influencing to go out there and get their kid oral sex at the age of 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. I just feel that he should be more responsible. Honestly, truth be told, that's his kid. And so he can raise them how he want to. But at the same time, you can't say it take a village, but then when you doing dirt and you doing wrong, oh, that's my child. Because nobody wants nobody to tell them how to raise their child until they in need, until they need help, until they need a hand up, until they got a problem. Then it takes a village. And you can't be double-sided in that. Is it gonna take a village or you want to raise them on your own? You know what I'm saying? But when you have that type of influence, you have to carry that influence respectably. You have a certain obligation to your audience, to your fans, to your viewers, not even to mention your kids.
Right.
But when you're in a place like that of so much influence, you have an obligation to the people who love you and who care about you and who have been supporting you from day one. I was a Boosie badass fan. None of his songs could come on when I was a teenager, None of his
Girl, you know
songs
all
were
the
coming in the
lyrics.
club, and I wasn't. I know all the lyrics. I'm on the dance floor, and when I say I'm on the dance floor, I ain't standing. I'm literally on the floor dancing. And so
Oh,
after that, I haven't been able to listen to any of his music. Much like R. Kelly, entirely different story. But I just think that sometimes it's uh, it's a very thin line between the different. So you have the ones who don't get the talks and have those type of hard talks completely neglected. You have the ones who do get them, and I commend those parents who do that because it's hard. Then you have the ones that get too much. And what I think is when, and I'm gonna say we, even though I don't have no kids, because I've raised plenty of people's kids. I've been babysitting kids since I was 8, 9, 10 years old.
but you was a kid.
I was a kid, but I was that responsible and I was that
Oh,
mature. I
okay.
have been babysitting kids. I've been keeping people's kids, fostering kids. I've raised plenty of kids.
Okay. Okay. Track
So
record.
what I will say is that when we are attempting to have these hard talks with not just our kids, but like he said, his nephews and all that, um, be careful not to expose them to things that psychologically they are not mature enough to handle. And psychologically, those boys are going to be fucked up. They're not psychologically mature enough to handle a grown woman, the same woman who is giving Boosie, a grown man, oral sex. And as he says, checked him out. He checks out when he gets oral sex from this lady. Could you just imagine the type of those kids are, and people, when you think about sex and stuff like that, you don't think about trauma. Most people don't put sex and trauma together unless somebody has been raped or molested. But this is a form of molestation. Anytime you have any type of sexual, whether it's just a touch, a feel, you can verbally molest somebody, uh, and stuff like that. Anytime it's with a child under a certain age, that's why they have those. That's why they have statutory laws. That's how they have a term called molestation, because even the law recognizes that there is a certain age that psychologically those things should not happen, because you are not mature enough at the age of 9, 10, 11, or 12 to be able to handle something like that. And anybody who has had, not to be I can't even think of the word, but I'm not trying to be nasty or nothing like that. But anybody who has had oral sex or any type of sex knows that there is a euphoric feeling tied to that. And studies have shown it's much like having anybody who is addicted to sex or sexual acts is much like anybody that's addicted to alcohol and drugs. It's the same things going on in your brain. So what he's creating is an addict, somebody who's going to have grow up to have a mental illness, and it all stemmed from him getting his son oral sex because he think it's cool. It looks good. It sounds good to him.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, and I know it is pretty nasty. But I agree with everything you said pertaining to Lil Boosie and the situation that whatever he has no idea how he just man, like molded this kid's mind. Like the kid is just gonna be so much more mature so fast. I really believe that it take away his childhood. Like you
it
don't want to play video
totally robbing
games.
him of his
Like
innocence.
video games. No, I'm about to go talk to these chicks. You just never know. Like if the kid actually gets like someone pregnant early, like that's gonna take away. I mean, it's just a lot that ties into what happened.
Not even that. He even said, and he was quoted saying that, oh, that's why they all got iPhone 11s. I think is that the latest one that came out? I think
Yeah.
that's what he said. They all got iPhones 11 so they could watch porn anytime they want, is what he was quoted saying. And I know what porn, because I have watched porn, before in the past. And I had to stop because even for me in my 30s, psychologically watching porn was doing something to my spirit. And so for him to say, for them kids to have that type of stuff playing in their head all the time, repeatedly.
Conversations is different. I'm telling you, it's crazy, but uh, it's not just Boosie. Boosie just open about it. There are parents that are doing this, that are allowing their kids to do this. Like, this is just one situation. I mean, it sucks, but it's going on because obviously people, when even watching the video clip that you just showed, you've seen a lot of hearts that were getting pressed while he was talking. So a lot
Yeah.
of people are like, yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. And it's just something, it's something about a child's mind. Like, you have the opportunity to mold your child, to make your child the way you want. It's like taught or born. Like, they are getting taught these things, and it's gonna stick with them down the road, and you just never know how they'll turn out. But I mean, who's to say? I'm no parent, so I don't know. I guess it's just something. One day you just find out. But yeah, those are the type of talks that parents definitely need to have with their child. Not saying, hey, go have oral sex, but definitely having those hard talks when it comes to your children, in regards of sex or STDs and race and everything else that's going on in the world. Like, this is the best time. You got your quarantine right now. The kids are Googling stuff, so you can't even hide it. It's on
Yeah.
commercials. It's on everything, man. And so
Yeah.
this is the time right now is to talk to your kids. If you've never talked to them before, this right now is the time to do so.
And so if you had a child, like what would you, or have you ever had to have those type of talks? Because I know with me, I do a little bit of speaking. I don't speak all the time, but I have a couple of annual gigs that, excuse me, that I do where I go to empowerment conferences or events for women and children, and I speak to women and children. And there's times that kids have walked up to me and like really opened up to me about things, and I be nervous because I don't want to feel like I'm overstepping my boundaries. I don't want to make nobody feel like I am trying to raise their child or trying to, like basically just stepping on their toes and stuff like that. So, like, have you ever had an incident like that? And like, how do you respond to those things? Like, what's a good way to respond? And if it's any parents out there that's watching, like, if you're uncomfortable having those talks with your kids and your kid end up asking a mentor, like, what would be the ideal response?
You can't say go ask your mama because they came to you for a reason.
Yeah.
So I've never had that. No, I've not had that particular conversation with any child. I mean, it was like a child that had just started their menstrual cycle, and then I was able to, like, I mean, it wasn't my kid, but they were with me. So it was like, hey, these are the outcomes of what could happen. But of course, because it's not your child, you try your best not to overstep anyone's boundaries. You don't know what the parent has already taught the kid. You don't want to be like, yeah, you can get pregnant tomorrow now, like, and then the kid had no idea. So now you got to go talk to the parent. You know what I'm saying? So as far as the talk, having mentees and being able to have those hard conversations with them, yeah, I just always try to be transparent. And if I'm one-on-one with the kid, like as with my mentee, I would definitely ask their parent first, like, hey, what's going on? Like, how they feeling or whatnot. But if you're in a
If you're in
speaking
the
engagement,
moment and if you're at an
yeah, if
event,
I'm in a
ain't
moment,
no parent,
so
ain't no parent finna be
okay.
there.
Okay,
And you
yeah.
can't
So if
take a
I'm in a
break. Hold on, kid. I know you're reaching out, and pour your heart out to me. Let me call your
Well,
mama.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest to them. I will have to be honest because it'll be on my heart if I'm not honest. So if they come to me for a cry for help, obviously they feel that I was trustworthy enough to get that from them. So I'm going to be honest and tell them the truth.
But you're also talking about a child. So with you not, first of all, you don't have kids of your own. That's gonna be somebody's first defense. Like, how can you talk to my child? You don't even got no kids. Like, people get upset about their kids. So I'm saying, like, what's a good way to go about that?
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle that professionally and to not step on toes?
I honestly, I would, as a profession, I would just maybe give them my phone number, and allow that, because if I'm in a setting, then that means there was things going on at that time. So just kind of give them my number and kind of keep in touch with them and check on them. I've never had that experience, so
Excuse me, Miss Tiffany. This boy rubbed on me at school and he tried to put his private on my private. You're gonna say, here's my number, hit me later?
no, I'm not gonna say that,
I'm
but
saying you gotta make it plain because I don't understand.
you'll understand. So if that was a situation that took place and a kid came up to me and said that, if I am in the area where I know who's the kid, like what school do you go to? What is it? I'm gonna get more information. I'm gonna say, how did it make you feel? What's going on? Like dig deeper. What took place to lead up to that? Like I gotta get the information. I gotta know what's going on so then I can execute properly. What
Okay.
about you? What about you, Miss Arcani? Like, how you gonna handle it?
Don't be trying to revert
No, no,
and
no, 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 no.
digress and
No, we
all of
ain't
that.
digressing. No, we ain't digressing. You got what? How would you handle this?
So how I have handled it in the past is the first time it happened to me is I went ahead and used, terms. I gave an example of something that happened to me to the child. I did not direct them to do or not to do anything, but I told them about a situation that happened to me and let them know that what I would do if it was me, but that they also need to talk to, their parent about it as well. But something that I do when I speak to kids, and not just saying that it happens at events, but I mean that's the majority place where it happens because emotions are high. I'm not a happy, I don't consider myself a motivational speaker. I'm a public speaker, and so everything that come out my mouth is not going to be motivational. I evoke emotion from my audience. That's what I do. And so you might be crying. There has never been a time that I spoke where emotions were not high. People leave in tears. People leave, they might be sad tears, they might be happy tears. People walk up to me afterwards and say, oh my God, like that was my life that you just said. And I never thought anybody else went through that. And now thank you for sharing that because now I know I'm not alone. I'm an emotion person. So I don't do like what you do per se. I'm not the motivational, you can make it, you are great. I will inspire you to be greater, but that's not my thing. My thing is to hit you where it hurts, hit you in your emotions, open you up so that you can receive what it is I'm saying to you, so we can figure out what is the issue at the core and deal with it. So what I do is I make sure any event that I speak at, I let the directors or the organizers know, listen, I need to have permission from these kids' parents in advance. If they do not have permission from their parents, because we are going to talk about some tough stuff and there may be some questions, being asked. And even though their child may not be the one asking, they're going to overhear it. I don't want to ever do or say anything that's going to traumatize a child to the point to where they just shut back down. If they thought about they was going to open up, they're not going to do it now. I don't want to do that. So what I do is I always, always, always in advance have the organizers or the directors get permission from every single parent so that I can be open and transparent with their child, and so that we can have an open and honest discussion, so I could be my authentic self and we could tackle some things that possibly their child is dealing with. So far, as far as I know, I've never had a parent object. I've had some parents be like, well, I need to sit in and make sure, I don't know what that's going to do, but okay, girl. You can say it. It's no problem. I'm not intimidated at all. I'm still going to say what I need to say to these babies because they need to hear it. They need to know the truth because obviously they're not getting it at home. But that's not for me to say. It is for me to do though, because I know that that's my purpose. That might not be, everything is not comfortable in parenthood, and I get that. You got your little bitty baby who is really not a little bitty baby no more, as a teenager, and now they want to know about sex, and they got boobs and all these other things going on. The young boys are having these urges, and are going off and playing with themselves, trying to figure out what is this that's going on. Why am I erected down there? And they don't have anybody to talk to. So whether it's a boy or girl, whether you're a mom or dad, you have to, or a mentor, again, with you being a mentor, I think that's something that you should definitely explore, is having a sheet. If you're going to go to a school and speak to somebody or anybody out there who is into teaching or speaking or anything like that, I tackle tough topics. We talk about things that are very taboo, mainly in the Black community. And so I think it's important to have the parents, what do you call it? Like for
like waiver or something like that, like a release for that.
Word, but no, to have their permission.
Okay.
To do that. Yeah. So somebody, let me see. Ivy says, oh,
child.
as a teacher, it happens to me all the time. The important thing is not overreact. If you do, they'll never talk to you again. Oh, she said, oh, you have to report that. I believe that she was saying report when I said something about like a child saying that somebody was putting their problem on them or something. Absolutely. Absolutely. It should be reported for sure.
I agree with that, and I think people like you make the world a better place, Ms. Iconic. So you booking for 2021? I'm trying to come to one of your shows so I can take notes. No, but
you can book a one-on-one session with me, boo. I just added to my resume.
No, forget that.
I added to my resume counseling for motivational speakers.
Yeah, no, I'm cool. But
anyway, like, how would you? Any tips that you have for parents that are looking to want to? Because we don't want to just present problems. We always want to leave you guys with some type of resource or solution, something to think about, so are there any tips that you have that you would offer to anybody watching who is trying to figure out how to have those hard talks, no matter what it's about, with their kids or with young people?
So for me, I believe timing is everything. So, it's not, and don't bash your child and make them feel embarrassed if they're feeling these things. Like, allow them to be free. Say, hey, there's a no judgment policy. So whatever, maybe you guys or you all are eating at the table, and there's an open communication forum where, hey, this is a judgment-free dinner tonight, so let's talk. Maybe open that type of communication up so that the kids will feel comfortable. And also, don't, like I said, don't judge them. Like, hey, I've been through the same thing. Like, baby, this ain't nothing new under the sun. And so just informing them that it's okay. It's okay to have these urges, or it's okay to start feeling certain ways, or just allowing your kids to create that environment. You really have to
relatability, I believe is what I'm saying. That's important.
Absolutely. Absolutely, just relating it to life, man. And that's what I would give as a, advice when it comes to having a child. Just allowing them to feel comfortable and just knowing that there's no judgment or setting off a time and be like, hey, it's truth time, boom, boom, truth time. Something like that would help them.
Okay, so making it fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, fun-ish.
Okay. All right. Well, I
Fun-ish.
got a
So,
couple of bullet points. It
oh
ain't nothing or whatever,
wait.
but I got a couple bullet points.
Oh, okay.
Like you had said, relatability. I put be real and use simple language. Don't say, and I know we all grew up saying pocketbook or our purse, our wallet, our pearl, our fruitcake. People call penises beefcake or whatever. I don't really know what guys, refer to their junk as kids, but you hear all type of stuff because kids are just kids and kids say the darndest things, but they learn them from us. So use simple language. I'm not saying, go out there and be like penis and vagina all over the place, but eventually that's what it's called. So I think if you're on that level with your child, you don't want to traumatize them, but if you're on that level with your child and you feel like your child is mature enough, leave the pet names. So you're just gonna get up and walk out while I'm talking to you. Leave the pet names alone because they're cute for a 2-year-old or something like that. When I was raising one of my little babies who was 2 years old, and when we used to take a bath, I would bathe her. I try not to ever let her bathe with me because she was very curious, and she would touch, and I'm like, no, it would make me feel uncomfortable because of her curiosity. She touched stuff. If she was curious about it, she gonna touch it first and see like, what is that? And so it made me super uncomfortable. So I had to stop bathing with her. So when I would bathe her, just bathe her alone, and I would have to bathe her private areas. I would say, let me see your privates. Let me bathe your privates or stuff like that. And she knows what privates are, and stuff like that. So of course, I'm not gonna say let me bathe your vagina to a 2-year old because I just think that that's
Comprehension.
beyond their level of comprehension when it comes to even the word vagina. But they know private, that's a private area you don't let. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So be real and use simple language according to whatever age they are. You mentioned something about right place, right time, I believe.
Yes.
So I did that. Like, don't just bust out in a crowd and start talking to your kid about things that ultimately might be seen as embarrassing. They're not going to appreciate that. Okay. I put on mine, talk about if it's sex, or I don't even want to say sex, whatever it is, talk about it early on. Just because you think something is too early, it might not be. Like your kid may be curious, but it has to be strategically brought up in conversation. Don't just spring it on them. Like you said, have fun with it, make a song out of it. And not only talk about it one time, because they're not going to understand that, especially if it's sex or something like that or STDs. It needs to be reiterated because everything we do has to be replenished. When we eat, we can't eat one time and it lasts all week. If we put gas in our car, we can't put gas in our car and it lasts all year. Our bills have to be paid every month. Everything is on a cycle and everything has to be done with repetition because that's how we learn as human beings. Not even human beings, animals, even the dumbest of the dumb, even fish learn by repetition. So it needs to be done early on and often, as well as strategically reiterated. Reassurance to your child, I think, is very important. Reminding them that this is normal. This is exciting. You're maturing. You're growing up from a young child to a young lady or a young gentleman. Soon you're gonna be a young man or young woman, and then an adult, and you'll be able to have kids of your own and talk about these things. This is a fun part of life, so that they don't feel like they're super weirdos because they're bleeding every month. um, so use appropriate language. I already pretty much reiterated that. I put on mine, don't have gender specific talks. What that means is, like I said earlier, just because your son can't get pregnant doesn't mean that you don't talk to him about pregnancy. He needs to know about pregnancy as well, because just because he don't have to carry it, he can help create it. And then you, mama or daddy, are going to have to deal with it. Okay. Just because your daughter does not have a penis, she still needs to know how to properly put on a condom on a penis. The same with STDs and everything else like that. A lot of people, when they have kids, when they have little boys, they don't like their little boys playing in women's shoes, or like they're just being a child though, because at the age of 2 or 3 years old, I don't believe, and you could fact check me, but I don't believe that children can relate to gender at that early of an age. So if they see a high heel shoe and they're playing in your high heels, it's not because they're going to be gay, but it's because that's their mom's shoes and they want to play in their mom's shoes. And the same with little girls. Little girls don't always have to play with easy bake ovens and makeup and Barbie dolls. They can play with trucks without having their sexuality compromised or whatever you want to say. So don't have gender specific talks. Let your kids be kids. They don't know anything about that young. And when they get old enough to know about those things, still don't have gender specific talks. Talk to them about everything, because everything is going to concern them as they're growing up. Another very important point I put is ask, don't tell. So what I mean by that is, if I saw something or heard something and I thought, my child was getting curious about sex or something like that, I'm not gonna say, I know, I heard you talking to your friend and I know you around here screwing. Da, 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 da. No. Listen, are any of your friends, are all your friends still virgins? What type of conversations do y'all be having about boys and stuff? So if y'all see a cute boy, like, what y'all say? What y'all be doing? Like, stuff like that. And it's not to say you're making yourself be their friend rather than their mother. You're still being their mother, but at the same time, you're making it comfortable for them to talk about, because nobody wants to be barked at. And then tell them, don't let your conversation be a bunch of don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Let your conversation be, listen, if you're thinking about having sex, let me know, because there are very important steps that you need to know about having sex. You're going to need to protect yourself, so don't tell them, don't you have sex. Don't you mess around and come home and bring no baby. I ain't taking care of no baby. Don't mess around and get pregnant. That. Kids, that stuff, they don't hear it. They don't hear it at all. So don't tell them what you don't want them to do, because we all know that whatever you tell them you don't want them to do, that's going to make them want to do it more. So tell them, almost give them an option. And I know some of the parents out there are just like, what? You want me to give my child an option whether to have sex? Absolutely. Because when you give them the option, you are giving them responsibility. And that's really all they want in the end. They want to know that you trust them to be responsible enough to make the right decision. Okay? Even if you know that they're irresponsible as hell, they want to believe that you trust them. And so if you have a conversation like, listen, babe, like, I know, you're an athlete, if you have a boy child, you're an athlete, and you tall and handsome and stuff, like your daddy, you your daddy's son, and the women gonna be after you. The women are gonna be after you. So if you decide to have sex, son, I come talk to me first, because it's some things we got to talk about if you're getting ready to do that. And the same with a female. It should not be one-sided. The boys should get the same talks as the females and vice versa. Yeah. So also, since now we're in the age of technology, using media and current events to bring up, they have tons of videos and informative, like cartoons and things like that. Use the media and the technology, you know what I mean? And if you just can't bring yourself to have that talk, find somebody that you trust and invite them to have that talk with your child in your presence. Not only so that you could be there to kind of oversee and make sure that nothing is getting talked about that you don't want to be said, but also to see if you can learn some ways, some tips, some clues, get some ideas on how to further reiterate the conversation that they're having. I've had to do that before. My sister has called me before and asked me, you better talk to your niece, you better talk to your nephew, and stuff like that. So I've had to have those talks. If you just can't do it as a parent, which I get it, I empathize with you, invite somebody in from your village to have that talk with your child. And those are all my little.
Oh, that was all.
Yeah, my little 2 cents.
You just a little 2 cents. I'm
Two
just kidding.
cents.
Hey, that's great, Miss Iconic. I think that the viewers could definitely take your tips and go ahead and apply that to their day-to-day routine, man. It's a good battle rhythm, so to speak, to have to help your child out. So listen, y'all, this is what we doing for the 2020, baby. Y'all gonna see more of us live, baby, live and direct, honey. See me in this Iconic in full action.
Let me see if we got any more questions real quick. And you could check on your end as well. We kind of on a couple of different things here. Okay,
y'all got any questions? Y'all might as well do it because Miss Iconic ready to answer, baby.
Somebody put a Black Lives Matter. That's what's up, brother.
Hard toxic families.
Open communication is key. Growing up without that definitely made me more curious about things I shouldn't have, or maybe it was me being rebellious. That's coming from Isla. Isla, exactly. Isla is a young woman, 19 years old, so she's right there on the brink of
she must be 20 though. She like 19 and a half.
And so yeah, not having those talks makes you more curious. Like I said, if you put it out there, they're gonna be like, oh, that ain't exciting no more. My mama talked to me about that all the time. I don't want to do that. It says also, I feel like mothers raise their daughters differently from their sons. They coddle the boys and are hard on the girls. Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, that's why you can't get no man that is a mama's baby, honey. Because it ain't gonna work. I digress. Y'all know that we gotta do a statistic.
Anyway, we have kept y'all enough on this Monday evening. We thank y'all so much for tuning in. Y'all stay tuned to Real Soul Speak. We got a bunch of great stuff coming up. We got some deep talks, some hard topics, some good stuff, man. You're gonna want to tune in. If y'all want to write us questions, topics, if y'all got answers to anything that we've already talked about, let us know, man. Hit us up, and y'all already know what's going on, man. This your girl, Miss Iconic.
It's Iconic, and y'all already know who this is. This your girl, Tutu, and we out.